NPC, the New Orleans podcast, and today we have a topic that has affected everyone in New Orleans and pretty much the Gulf Coast.
Yes, but we're going to look at it from the view of a hurricane party. So this is our hurricane party episode, but before we get to the hurricane party, we have
Trivia. So our trivia question for today involves hurricanes, and we have actually two trivia questions. One is, what is the deadliest hurricane to ever hit the United States? And what is the deadliest hurricane to hit Louisiana?
Oh, and it's a little trick question because one list says it's the second deadliest hurricane, and another area says that it actually killed more. It's not Katrina. Katrina is considered sometimes to be the deadliest hurricane in Louisiana. So this is one that may or may not have actually killed more people than Katrina. So it's not Katrina.
So that's enough with the hints. Let's go on to the start of our hurricane party with the drinks. So, Lance, what are we drinking today?
Well, of course, we're drinking hurricanes. And hurricanes we spoke about it a little bit in our list of, drinks not to drink, sort of, tongue in cheek, not to drink drinks, because what we're saying is just so sugary. But the hurricane is a New Orleans drink here. It was started at Pat O'Brien's. There on St. Peter Street, 600 block of St. Peter Street. But just a little bit of history about Pat O'Brien's is it started off by Mr. Pat O'Brien as a speakeasy back before Prohibition. So it was probably an illegal place to go get drinks. And then after Prohibition, he opened it up as a proper bar. And during wartime, and this is where the drink the hurricane is going to come from, is during wartime, a lot of distilleries around the country were making things for the war effort. I don't know if it was alcohol or other things for munitions or whatever. They sort of transferred into that. And so a lot of bourbons and alcohols like that were hard to come by or expensive. But rum was coming up through the Caribbean, up the river from the Caribbean. So rum was plentiful. Rum was cheap. So the management of Pat O'Brien's, started experimenting with a bunch of different types of drinks. So, with rum, so that way they could sell more rum, and they came up with a passion fruit sort of rum drink that they all agreed was really good. So they called it the Hurricane, and they served it in glasses. We have two hurricane glasses right here, which sort of look like a hurricane lamp. The old kerosene type hurricane lamps that, I don't know if your parents had them, but my parents have them. I have some somewhere around this house. I don't use them, but the old kerosene hurricane. So we have two hurricane glasses here. Both of these are probably older than you because this one's from the 1984 World's Fair. And the second one is a Pat O'Brien's hurricane glass that I got when I was in high school.
Yes, so, both are definitely older than me.
So they're both older than you. But we're not going to use the hurricane glasses. I do have them, to fancy drink at my bar. But since this is a hurricane party, you're going to use solo type cups. So that's what we're going to do here, use our solo type cups. So we already made the hurricanes. If you're going to have a hurricane party, you're probably not going to make individual drinks. That's just going to take a while. It's just going to slow down everybody's buzz. So you probably make it by the gallon. So I'd already made the hurricane, so we'll go ahead and taste it. Then I'll talk to you about what's in it. Okay, so we mentioned, don't block it. So I already mentioned that it's passion fruit. I don't think it's passion fruit anymore. Pat O'Brien's comes out with their own mix, and when I read the ingredients, which I'll put the ingredients up on the screen, it doesn't list passion fruit. It's a lot of other things in there now, but this is the Pat O'Brien's hurricane mix that we're going to use, and you get these at stores all over town, probably all over the world. The Pat O'Brien's hurricane mix, and there's other types.
How many of these do you go through in your traditional hurricane party?
Honestly, we only go through a few. We'll drink a hurricane at the hurricane party just because you're supposed to. Then we'll switch to other things. We'll switch to vodka, which, hey, this isn't Prohibition, and this isn't World War I or World War II. I have other alcohols besides rum. No, we'll drink, maybe two of those so everybody get a taste of a hurricane. But as I said in a cocktail show, I'm not getting drunk off hurricane. But anyway, but along with our Pat O'Brien's hurricane mix, I just happen to have at my bar 2 bottles of Bayou Rum. But these Bayou Rums, and maybe we'll cover them a little more on another show, but it's local. Bayou Distillery is located between Lake Charles and Lafayette. It's just some guys that got together and decided, hey, rum comes from sugar cane. We have sugar cane. Let's make some rum. And this rum can be bought all over the country. They have a Mardi Gras XO International Award-winning rum. The two that I happen to have here is their spiced rum, and I don't even see this one on their website anymore. Maybe they don't make it anymore. Maybe it's a seasonal rum. Is their Satsuma rum. So Richard has the Satsuma in his cup. I have the spiced in mine. So what do you think?
That's really good. I really do. I can taste a hint of the Satsuma, but it's not overpowering the mix.
Well,
it's really delicious.
Trust me, it's going to be hard to overpower this mix. This mix is just so sweet. Here, let me try yours.
Yeah, you get a nice little taste of the Satsuma in the back end.
You do. You can really taste the difference between the rum. So yeah, the mix isn't really overpowering the rum altogether. I can taste the difference between the Satsuma and the spiced rum.
Oh, you definitely can. I just tried the spiced one. You can definitely tell.
So
honestly, I'd probably drink the Satsuma rum just by itself. I really like the flavor of the Satsuma.
I got shot glasses. Okay, but we can do that later. So, but
next episode maybe.
But this is our drink for today. Pat O'Brien's Hurricane Mix, Bayou Rum. There's other varieties out there, but you can get Bayou Rum and Pat O'Brien's Hurricane Mix at stores all over town. And I think you can probably get both of these nationally, all over the place. So, hey, when a hurricane comes rolling through your town, stock up.
Stock up. So we don't really have breaking news. Like there's no hurricanes hitting Louisiana at this moment. But we did want to talk about hurricanes in general, give you some information, and what to look out for. Because although hurricane parties are all fun and games, hurricanes are not.
Yeah, there's serious. Obviously, I say there's a serious side to hurricanes. We should say there's a lighter side because the serious side is what's most important. So with that, we're going to talk a little bit about hurricanes and the strength of hurricanes and the damage of hurricanes and things that you should be worried about. But hurricane season is June 1st through November 30th. But it wasn't always June 1st through November 30th. It used to be like June 1st through October 30th or October 31st. But hurricane season's gotten longer. It's how do they move that? And what they do is they figure out about 97% of hurricanes fall within this date. So hurricanes can come earlier in the year. They can come later in the year. It's like a hurricane's going to form. It's like, damn it, I'm late. So hurricanes fit. Most 97% fit in that window. That's why hurricane season is during that time.
They range from different categories. So they start off as a tropical depression before they become a hurricane, which is about 38 miles per hour in speed. And then they go up to a tropical storm. And I think that's when they start getting their name.
Start naming them instead of just they're a number or whatever. They start naming them. The Stafford-Simpson scale tells us how damaging a hurricane can be. But a Stafford-Simpson scale really just tells us about the wind and the damage that a wind can do. But we'll quickly go through the Stafford-Simpson scale, which most of us are familiar with, because that's where they get Category 1, Category 2, 3, Category 4, Category 5 hurricanes. And so that's supposed to tell us, that's how dangerous a hurricane is. So we'll go through that, but then we'll talk about the other side of what's actually more dangerous. So Category 1 is 74 to 95 miles per hour. And they said it's very dangerous winds. It'll produce some damage. Some final siding and gutters will fall down. Large branches off trees might fall down. Then we'll go to Category 2, and that's 96 to 110 mile per hour winds. Well-constructed frame homes could start getting major roof damage and siding damage. Small trees could be snapped or uprooted. Category 3, 111, 129 miles per hour. Some major damage will happen to your houses. Your roof might come off. Major parts of your roof might come off. Many trees will be snapped. This is when trees will start breaking and falling on your house. Category 4, 130 to 156 miles per hour. Well-built frame homes can sustain severe damage with loss of most of the roof or structure. Some exterior walls might start getting damaged or even falling in. Trees will be snapped and uprooted. Power poles will start coming down. Finally, the big boy, the major hurricanes. the ones that everybody goes, holy crap, here comes a 5, that's 157 miles per hour or higher. And this is just, your total homes can be destroyed. Of course, your roof, if your total home's destroyed, trees, power poles. It's just everything I said, but more. How do you react to these numbers?
Basically, on 1 to probably 3, I am not concerned at all. I think the last one that was going to hit us was a 1, and I went to work that day, and they asked me if I wanted to leave early, and I was like, why?
Yeah, you're almost ashamed to say you're a New Orleanian if you leave during a 1, 2, or 3.
Yeah.
So,
So the scale could be very misleading to that point where we're all relaxed at a 1 because we're like, well, at least it's not a 5.
Yeah, we're comfortable. We're like, oh, that's just a breezy day. As an Orleanian, we'll say that. Where people that are transplants to this city, it's a lot of them freaking out. There's a hurricane coming, doesn't matter what number it is, they're freaking out. But so when we get to a 4 or a 5, what are you thinking?
Honestly, before Hurricane Katrina, I don't think we would have left on a 5.
Yeah, I've never left before Hurricane Katrina. I did leave for Katrina because I woke up the next morning after the Saints played the preseason game the night before. I woke up the next morning, I was like, got the family in the car, I was like, we're going. This does not look good. This is the one they've been talking about.
Yeah.
So,
and and I think also too, with how much like Betsy, our old parents and grandparents with Betsy, I think that Betsy was the reason why people were like, oh, why would you leave on this storm? Betsy didn't kill us.
Yeah, so I think that's why we had a lot of people in New Orleans, because we were complacent. We were like, we didn't respect the power of a hurricane because we just don't. We say it's an excuse for a party, which we'll get to in a little bit.
Like, who would create an episode on a party?
Yes. But the reason why I brought up this scale is because, yes, it can be misleading, it can make us complacent, or it can freak some people out, but this scale isn't the whole story, and it's probably not even the major part of the story because, as my good friend Carl Ardondo, who's retired from Channel 4's chief meteorologist, he came by, shout out to Carl Ardondo, he came by and talked to my students the other day. But he was talking about that, wind is dangerous and we should be aware of it with the scale, but it's the storm surge, it's the water. Storm surge and the water kill more people than the wind does.
Yeah. So,
and just to show a little bit about what the damage and what the storm surge is, here's a video that NOAA had put out. Take a look at this.
Powerful winds aren't the only deadly force during a hurricane. The greatest threat to life actually comes from the water in the form of storm surge. Storm surge is water from the ocean that is pushed toward the shore by the force of the winds swirling around the hurricane. This advancing surge combines with the normal tides and can increase the water level by 30 feet or more. Storm surge combined with waves can cause extensive damage. It can severely erode beaches and coastal highways. The pounding waves can take out boats and buildings. As the waters move inland, rivers and lakes may be affected and add to the rising flood levels. While we can't prevent storm surge, we do have a system that can warn us of the incoming threat. As a hurricane develops over the open ocean, forecasters at the National Hurricane Center closely monitor its path to evaluate the risk of a coastal strike. They use a computer model called SLOSH to predict storm surge heights. The model depends critically on the hurricane's track, intensity, and size. SLOSH uses water depths, land elevations, and barriers to the flow of water to compute surges as they move inland. This data helps determine which areas may need to be evacuated. When a hurricane slams our coast, it's important to be aware of all the dangers. As a reminder, emergency managers want us to run from the water and hide from the wind. Don't take unnecessary risks during a storm. Conditions can change in the blink of an eye. Storm surge is a dangerous event during a hurricane, where furious winds are driving deadly flows of water from our seas to our shores.
So as you can see, storm surge are very dangerous. Like Katrina pushed a lot of water from the Gulf of Mexico inland that caused a lot of flooding.
Yeah, it was like what miles inland water was coming in because of Katrina and Camille and other storms that come in through the Gulf of Mexico that way. So yeah, it's the water that's really doing it. But the storm surge is really dangerous. And past Christiane, they recorded during Katrina that the tallest, the biggest storm surge in American recorded history. It was a 27.8 foot storm surge. My parents were living in Waveland at the time. They weren't there, they evacuated. I remember right on the beach in Waveland, they had a house that was for sale, and it said hurricane proof house for sale. Gone. Not a sign. My parents' house, there's nothing but a slab left there. And what really, and just being from New Orleans, and it devastated New Orleans, but coming back, even though I lost my house during Katrina, the thing that really hit me was going to the Gulf Coast, because here at least the buildings were still standing. You went there, they got it worse. There were buildings totally gone, just a mile inland from the beach. That they were just wiped out like a bulldozer, and people stayed. But so talking about hurricane categories, you see from the graphic here that the hurricanes that had killed the most people, the deadliest hurricanes in American history, were not Category 5 hurricanes. If you look through the top 25, 26 hurricanes I have on this graphic here, you'll see that only 2 of them, I think, were Category 5. And most deadliest, top 2 were Category 4. Katrina was, when it hit landfall, according to this one, was Category 3.
Yeah.
So, the deadliest hurricanes weren't even the strongest. As you see also on this graphic, I have 2 of them blocked out because that's the answers to the trivia question.
Yes.
So we'll talk about those in a little while. And when our parents talk about that they stood through Hurricane Betsy, and so that's why they stayed. I remember growing up, that was always Hurricane Betsy was the big one. But Hurricane Betsy, you see, is number 26 on this list. 75 people died in Hurricane Betsy. Where, for Katrina, according to this list, it's 1,200 people died during Katrina. So, Katrina put a new perspective in a lot of our lives on what a hurricane can do. But I bet a lot of us would still stay.
Probably. And you were talking about, speaking a little bit more of storm surge, you were talking about how Hurricane Sandy was... Yeah,
Hurricane Sandy was Category 3 or less. There were some places I read that it was barely at hurricane strength when it was coming up on the East Coast. And what Hurricane Sandy was, it was just huge. It was 500 miles across. 200 miles was the hurricane sustained wind part of it. And it just came down on the East Coast and just kept pushing water inland on top of New York and on top of New Jersey. And if you wanted to understand sort of how a storm surge works and how water's being pushed in like that, next time you have a morning cup of coffee, just sit there and blow on your cup of coffee, and you'll notice how the ripples go up on the other side of the cup, and you'll notice that it's where you're blowing, it's shallower and it's deeper where you're pushing it to. Now imagine that 500 miles long.
Yes.
So that's what storm surge is and what storm surge is doing, and that's the point we want to make here is you can't just sit there and listen to Category 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm staying because of that. Listen to the meteorologist. Pay attention to that because that's what's going to tell you what's going on. And if they start saying evacuate. I guess that's all we wanted to say about this. I mean, there are lists, and to be responsible, I'm going to put a list online on NOLASUN.com. Check it out of stuff you should have to weather a hurricane, because we're going to give you another list in a second when we get to entertainment.
All right.
Which is now.
This song here, well, y'all are inland. See, I'll have to explain that down in New Orleans right now is hurricane season. And when a hurricane comes to New Orleans, we have a hurricane party. It goes like this, y'all. A 1, a 2, a 1, 2, 3, 4. A hurricane party got out of control. I'm lying in the gutter eating a Tootsie Roll with red ant bites all over my ass, beating all my buddies with a baseball bat. We had a little party me and my friends. A hurricane was coming to New Orleans again. Somebody brought scotch, somebody brought beer. I should have kept the hooch and thrown them out of here. A friendly game, a penny a hand. I smoke a cigar and act like a man, waiting for the gale force winds to blow. Shovel up the cards and let the liquor flow. The hurricane party got out of control. I'm lying in the gutter eating a Tootsie Roll, with red ant bites all over my ass, beating all my buddies with a baseball bat. Just Ellis Griffith on the guitar. Well, this here bass-playing girl showed up by surprise. Cookies in her hands and dollar signs in her eyes. I started dipping them cookies in scotch. She won all my money and my pocket watch. Well, I passed out and I woke up. The house was empty and so was my cup. From out on the front porch, I heard them shout. I wish they'd come in so I could throw them out. The hurricane party got out of control. I'm lying in the gutter eating a Tootsie Roll, with red ant bites all over my ass, beating all my buddies with a baseball bat. Go, Johnny! Go! Everybody was wrestling out in the dirt. I laughed so hard till my stomach hurt. They saw me clean, they heard her laugh. They started charging at me and I grabbed the bat. A hurricane party got out of control. I'm lying in the gutter with the joints I roll, with red ant bites all over my ass, beating all my buddies with a baseball bat. Beating all my buddies with a baseball bat. Beating all my buddies with a baseball bat. Thanks for coming to the hurricane party, Greensboro! Yeah! Yeah!
Well, that's Cowboy Mouth kind of describing a hurricane party.
Yeah, that's just talking about, that's Paul Sanchez. It's a true story. He usually says at the beginning on the album version, that's true story. And, he tells us about the hurricane party, and, that he had at his house one year, and he got drunk, and, his friends are all out there, and, they start running at him. He grabs the bat. That's Paul Sanchez's story. And hopefully one day we'll get him on here and he can talk about that song and some of his other songs. But yeah, that's a hurricane party. If I'm having a hurricane party, we're listening to that song.
Yeah.
And we're drinking our Pat O'Brien's Hurricane. But to get into a hurricane party, why do we have hurricane parties? One, we're staying for the hurricane, so we're not going to get into why are we staying for a hurricane. But hurricane parties, it's a community thing, or it's a thing with a bunch of friends, and it's a way, because you might lose your power. You might, it's a way to pool your resources where, everybody will bring, some food over, they'll bring some games, they'll bring alcohol. It's a way of pooling all your resources and conserving your resources all in one place while passing a good time together.
Yeah, I know it's a lot of times people use them to get rid of their perishable foods in case the electricity goes down.
Yeah, because you're going to have all that stuff in your fridge. So Hurricane aims to go through those perishable foods, and you want to make sure you have plenty of alcohol. But I will say, if you're drinking a hurricane party, pace yourself, because you don't know how long your electricity is going to be down. I mean, I know that, for a hurricane once, my power went out, and I was like, it's probably going to come back on. It was a week before my power came back on. So I can't keep that pace up of drinking for a week. So you're going to have to learn to pace yourself. And the hurricane parties actually started because when Prohibition ended, this is around the same time that they started having some sort of technology or ways to forecast hurricanes. Before this time, you really didn't know when a hurricane was coming. You knew a storm was brewing in the distance, but we didn't have all the technology now. So with that perfect storm of alcohol being legal and us being able to say, ooh, look, there's a hurricane coming, let's get prepared for it and get a lot of alcohol.
Yeah.
So those two things led us to start having hurricane parties. But to have a hurricane party, there's certain things that you need to have and be aware of. There's rules, there's just common courtesy things, And first, let's talk about who to invite to your hurricane party. So, of course, your family will be at your hurricane party. You'll invite some of your friends, but realize you might be spending a lot of time with these people. So there might be some friends that you don't want to spend a week with if they're drinking and if that's so. Be aware of who you're inviting to your hurricane party. That this could be this could go on for a little while.
Maybe not a new relationship, or tell your friend to leave his new girlfriend at home.
So if you're having a hurricane party, what do we need? What do we need to have on hand?
Well, we're going to need alcohol, maybe a Pat O'Brien's hurricane mix.
Just a little bit, just so everybody get a taste.
Yes, barbecue pit with charcoal.
Or if you have a barbecue pit which can use gas, make sure you have your propane tanks filled up, because you need the barbecue pit because everybody should be bringing their perishables. Everybody should be bringing all that meat in their fridge that might go bad, and that's what you're going to start eating. You're going to start eating a bunch of hamburgers and steaks and chicken and all that stuff that's going to go bad. You're going to be eating good. Because you got to cook all that stuff.
And this one, I think that we should always have. You should always bring deodorant. Is very key.
Because you don't know how long you're going to be with these people. So yes, bring deodorant. If I'm having a hurricane party, I'm going to go to Sam's and buy a big pack of deodorant, just lay them out, say, here y'all go. I'm going to get the spray on because people might not want to share roll-ons. But
also too, the electricity will be out, so it will be hot.
Yeah, but jumping back to food for a second, you want other non-perishable foods. You want chips. You want dips that don't have to be refrigerated. You can get those cans of cheese dip, or cans of cheese whiz, salsa, things like that. And nobody eats healthy during a hurricane, so don't worry about that. That's our time to say, hey, we'll exercise afterwards, or you're going to be sweating your ass off.
Yeah.
So
or a good dipping, according to Cowboy Mouth, is scotch. Apparently, it's a good dip.
It's cookies and scotch. So don't worry about eating healthy. If you have vegan friends, just don't invite them.
You don't need that negativity in your life.
No, you don't need to be judged when you're dipping your cookies in scotch. Okay, so other things, because you need some entertainment. So what kind of entertainment do you suggest?
Anything that's board games, anything that you can use without electricity. So don't bring the Xbox. Or
playing cards. Cards are a good one. It's in the hurricane party again. Friendly game, a penny a hand. So you play a friendly game. Don't start getting high stakes, because as it starts getting hot and you start getting drunk, people are going to start getting ornery. You're going to have to grab that bat.
Definitely.
Okay, so other things you're going to need, your phones. So you want to make sure your phones don't die. So
yes, that's a good tip, is to charge everything up right when the storm's gonna hit, and just keep it charged. Even if it's at 90%, charge it up to 100.
And get some of those batteries that you can plug your phone into. But also remember this: you can always charge your phone in your car. So if your phone does die and you're out of all other options, go sit in your car and let it charge in there for a while and enjoy the air conditioning. Just sneak off. Just sneak off so everybody at the party doesn't try to pile into your car like a clown car.
Now that is a pro tip.
But another thing I really enjoyed during a hurricane party is you can get these at Sam's and other places. Ion makes them. It's a music box that's a battery. And so it's a speaker. It has a radio built into it. You can Bluetooth or plug your phone into there to play music. But also the huge battery allows you to plug your phones in. It has USB.
Really?
On it also. You can find those at Sam's. You can find them at Walmart. Sometimes they have a little disco ball on top. So, when you're packing, because you need your flashlights. So make sure you got your flashlights to shine at that disco ball.
Yeah, definitely.
Then you got a party. But those ion boxes, those things have been lifesavers in entertaining us, giving us the news by listening to the radio, and charging our devices. Other people make those boxes, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But Ion's the one that I had.
And then you on the list also is a change of clothes.
Because you're going to be sweaty, you're going to be nasty. So bring some change of clothes.
Extra socks. Wet feet are the worst.
Yes.
And then we also have wet wipes, because again, with the being nasty, you might need to wipe off.
There's not going to be running water. Maybe the water might not be good. You may have gallons of water, which you're going to need gallons of water in order to keep hydrated with all the drinking you're going to do. Mm-hmm. But you don't want to waste that water with bathing and all that. I remember my parents told me during Betsy, they filled the bathtub up with water just so they'd have extra water in case they needed it. And after Betsy started hitting, they saw one of my aunts taking a bath in the bathtub,
No.
That's not what it was for.
No.
So I don't know if it was an ant. I just remember they said somebody took a bath in there. Parents are watching and they're going to say, "You're wrong. That's not what we said." So so you want to have the wet wipes so you can give yourself a little cleaning up.
Yeah, make you feel a little fresh.
Yes.
And then we talk about water.
Yeah, well, I'll put Imodium on there. And if Imodium or anything that helps anti-diarrhea pills, just saying you're eating junk. You're going to be eating a lot of junk. You're going to be there for a few days. I'm just saying put a cork in it because, if the water's not really working well and you got the toilets and you got a lot of people over there, I'd say, guys, find a tree in the back or a designated corner of the yard to pee in. If you got to poop, you're going to have to start using your bottled water to help flush the toilet.
Yeah.
So I would say I'm stocking up on Imodium, and I just figure when the hurricanes pass and electricity comes back on, I'm spending a day or two in the bathroom.
Well, you say that sometimes the Saints play better when you're in the bathroom, so. We also have pillows, sleeping bags, air mattresses, because again, you might be sleeping in the same place
with a bunch of people.
Yeah.
And I have a lot of stuff here, but depending on how many people, I don't have enough beds. I don't have enough, I don't have enough blankets or pillows for everybody. But another tip is, if you don't have air mattresses or you don't want to pull a big air mattress, get those rafts that you get for your swimming pool. Just get a bunch of those. You can get those really cheap, $5 at Walmart. Blow those up, and at least you got something softer to sleep on.
Yeah.
So.
And then a lot of ice, because you need ice for your drinks.
Yes, so fill all your ice chests up beforehand. I would even say some stuff that you need to have, be it medicines that need to be kept cold or baby formula, whatever. I'd have one ice chest that has salted ice in it, because salted ice is going to stay frozen longer. We keep keep some of your drinks in there too if you want to. But along that lines of keeping everything cold, you should turn your refrigerator all the way up days leading into the hurricane. And then when the hurricane gets there, keep it closed as much as possible, the freezer and fridge.
And don't open it up for dumb reasons.
Know what you want before you go in there. Don't just open up the fridge and, what do I want to eat? Stare at it for a while.
Because if you do keep it closed, it will keep it cold.
It's an ice box. So it's insulated. It'll stay cold for you. A big one, I think, is you don't want to be washing dishes.
Yes.
So you're going to need big trash cans or big trash bags. You're going to have paper plates. You're going to want to have plastic utensils. I know environmentalists, and I'll say, oh, no, we shouldn't have all that kind of stuff. Well, then just use your hands, I guess. But you do not want stinky dishes piling up.
No.
And you're going to run out of dishes anyway eventually. So just make sure you stock up with paper plates and utensils and solo cups. Don't use your hurricane glasses. You're going to run out.
And then you don't want to use your water because you have to clean a dish because somebody wants a sandwich.
and granted, we're not experts on any of this. Maybe we're a little better at partying than the next person. But there's probably a lot more things that you would have for our list that would be funny, that would be fun, that may be essential. And we'd love for you to send them to us at the email down here at neworleanspodcast@gmail.com, or send it to nolasum.com at their email address. Always use our hashtag. Send it to us on social media
at #NOPC.
Yes.
And then if you have some funny stories, write them in the comments on the YouTube channel, and we'll maybe talk about it next episode.
Yeah. So, we hope that we made your hurricane party more enjoyable. We love to hear your tips, and maybe we'll have a Nola some hurricane party one day.
So let's give you those answers to the trivia. And we had 2 trivia questions today. We had, what was the deadliest hurricane ever? And then what was the deadliest hurricane hit Louisiana?
So the deadliest hurricane ever was the Galveston hurricane, which was in 1900. And it killed over 8,000 people. That's a lot. That's by far the deadliest hurricane. And I'll put a documentary link up on our nolasum.com, which will talk about that Galveston hurricane, because it talks about how this is 1900. As I was just saying before, with Prohibition and able to sort of forecast and see hurricanes coming, that was much after 1900.
Yeah.
So what it was is back then, people in Galveston didn't know a hurricane was coming. The only way you had to forecast weather back then was your grandpa sitting on the porch saying, "Oh, my knee's aching, there's a storm a-brewing." That was the only way that they really knew any weather changes were coming, because his knee was aching. And so Galveston just got devastated with a without people leaving, without notice.
And if you look on the list that we have earlier, that most of the storms that were the deadliest happened before the year 2000,
Yes.
except for Katrina.
And a lot of that had to do with we know now when it's coming.
Yeah.
We see it come. We see it coming almost from when a strong breeze comes off the shore of Africa. They're saying, "Oh, that could be a hurricane in 2 weeks." You know, I mean, that's how good they're getting with this stuff. So so that's why the deadliest ones are pre-prohibition.
Yes.
So that's the deadliest one for the country as a whole, which is right there, not very far from Louisiana in Galveston, just south of Houston. But the deadliest one in Louisiana was in 1893, and it was the Cheniere Caminada hurricane, or is also known as the Great October Storm, because it happened in October. The reason why I say it was deadlier than Katrina, on the list, as you're seeing right here again, it has it right after Katrina. But those estimates are different than other estimates on how many people actually could have died in this hurricane. They're saying that an estimated 2,000 people were killed, almost all of them from storm surge. And this town that was on, this is just, I think, east or west of Grand Isle. This town was just west of Grand Isle. And there were 1,500 people in this town before the hurricane, and half of the people in that town died. Over half, 779 people on that island in that town died. I'm not sure. I don't think that town exists anymore. What I was reading is that future hurricanes sort of forced the hand where everybody else had to eventually just leave.
Yeah.
And sort of coastal erosion and other things. Grand Isle was nearly decimated during this hurricane also. And they're saying that was probably or close to the deadliest hurricane year ever. There were 3 hurricanes, really deadly hurricanes that year that came up into the United States. So that's your 2 deadliest hurricanes.
Yes.
The Louisiana deadliest and the national deadliest.
Yes, and like we said, if you have any thoughts, you can hashtag us at NOPC.
Email us.
And tell us about your hurricane experiences. We'd love to hear them.
Enjoy your hurricane party.
See you next time.